Welcome to the LFG Pats Pod with your hosts, Joe and Mike. Let's go!
All right. Welcome into the LFG Pats Pod. This is episode 11.
11. We're on to 11. Double digits.
Julian Edelman. And so we're going to talk about the AFC as a whole. We've previously talked about the AFC East. We've talked about how do we feel these teams are going to shake out record-wise. How have they gotten better? Have they gotten worse? We're not going to go into the same levels of depth of details with the whole AFC, but we're going to talk about the top 10 teams. And so we're going to do that. But first, here's a word from our sponsor.
Rogue Island Local Kitchen and Bar in Providence, Rhode Island offers a fresh take on new American cuisine. We have a focus on locally sourced ingredients with over 55 local craft beers and expertly crafted cocktails. We're the perfect spot for foodies and drink enthusiasts alike. Follow us on social media at Rogue Island for daily specials and upcoming events you won't want to miss.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to just jump right into it, I think. Mike, what do you think?
We're going to go over, the rest of the teams in the AFC. We've done a lot of different projections. We've done roster projections. We've done stat projections. We've done win-loss projections. All of these way too early projections because it's the slow season. So we're trying to grasp at the things that are going to make sense to us moving forward. So we're going to go over who we think are the playoff teams for this upcoming season. The top 7 teams, we're going to talk about them, why we think they're going to end up where they're at, and maybe additions or shortcomings, how they're different from seasons prior. And we're just going to go right down the list. And we're also going to throw in some bubble guys, too. 8, 9, 10 seeds. There's going to be a shuffling at the bottom with the wild cards. So we think that is going to be pretty interesting. But we're going to start up top because we're going to get the boring stuff out of the way.
Exactly.
And then it's going to get spicier and spicier as far as the seeding when we go down the list. But without further ado, and, I've been on the fence about this, but right now I have Kansas City as the number 1 seed. They, who get better, get worse, who knows?
Right.
You'll talk about who they added, who they lost, but they're still the Chiefs. They still have Pat Mahomes. He's going to be on an absolute mission, and you can't write him off because he pulls things up. So, that's
what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a guy that, he's what it is in the league as far as a quarterback, so he can win a game any given time. Do I want them to take their lumps? Yes. Did they win a bunch of one-score games that they shouldn't have won last year? Yes. But they're still the Chiefs, so until somebody knocks them off, I got them as the number 1 seed. I'm going 13-4 on the record, too, which is, I know it's a little high. It's higher than I would prefer, but I'm just trying to be practical about what the Chiefs are usually able to pull off, and they have a chip on their shoulder now, so I can't wait to see how that goes down.
Yeah, they were the worst 15-1 team I've ever seen in the NFL, period. Now, like Mike said, did they get better or get worse, right? You lost Rashee Rice early. He comes back this year. He's looking good as far as I'm hearing. You lost Joe Tooney in free agency, right? So he got traded, and so which I wish the Patriots signed him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Long story short, we have some questions at left guard, and so you have that situation. You lose DeAndre Hopkins, but so what? You have Rashee Rice back. You don't really need him. And then you have a guy like Josh Simmons at left tackle who, let's face it, he was probably the top 3 tackles in the whole draft. What may have been over Will Campbell if he was healthy. And so
the rich get richer.
Rich get richer. I was checking the key departures for the Chiefs, and I noticed that they didn't lose the refs, so that was good. The refs are still on their roster, which is nice. And so
conspiracy.
Yeah, and so this team is who they are, right? They're the Chiefs. They are the man until they're beaten, until they're proven. Now, obviously, the Eagles handled them pretty heavily in the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean anything as far as the regular season goes. Their schedule is kind of middle of the pack, 13-4. 12-5, whatever you want to call it. They're the top dog until,
They have the 11th hardest strength of schedule, which doesn't really mean that much to them.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't at all.
It's a middle of the pack thing, so I don't know if that's what's going to be their problem. Just can they continue to keep it together? That's all. That's the main thing with them.
Yeah, they kind of stayed par. I mean, they clearly addressed the defense a lot in the draft between their second and 2/3. They got D tackle, edge, corner. Josh Simmons obviously was their big first-round pick. And so, yeah, I think they're just probably a better team, if anything. They didn't really draft any marquee running backs, which to me doesn't necessarily matter. They have Isaiah Pacheco. They got some scat backs over there that are serviceable. Mahomes is going to spread the ball around. It doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I think that's locked in. That's a layup.
Probably, but we'll see what happens they're clutch, but we'll see what happens in the playoffs. Maybe somebody will be able to out-clutch them in the playoffs, so it remains to be seen.
I agree.
So, it goes right into the second seed, and this was actually a toss-up for me because we've got the Baltimore Ravens at number 2. We'd have to be silly to not put them at number 2, and I was toying with putting them at number 1 because they have a great trajectory. I don't like that Lamar Jackson skips his workouts and forfeits a $750,000 every year to do that. I guess if you make $42 million a year, that's jump change to you. But us lay people hear that.
We'll go work out for him.
You know what I mean? We'll
show up.
We're like, come on, man. But the guy, he still ends up showing up and balling out. I still think he's going to have a great season. They still have a great team. I
think they got better, Mike. This is a team where they got Ronnie Stanley back. I mean, that was another one where we're like, oh man, if we can just somehow rob Ronnie Stanley,
we would have enjoyed that,
and then trade down. There was all these scenarios we were talking about, and so they just got better. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins, which to me is just a good veteran, right? They have Rashad Bateman still, which I guess the Patriots were in on him pretty heavily.
Yeah, they were trying to trade for him.
So
I'm glad they didn't. But
I'm glad they didn't, right? Because I think he's, he is very good. He has flashes, but he's not very consistent.
And he's not durable at all.
Right. And so you got between him, Zay Flowers, you got DeAndre Hopkins now, you got Derrick Henry. I mean, it's just an embarrassment of riches on that offense.
Just trying to scheme against Jackson and Henry, you're already in for it. They can run on you at will, and there's nothing you can do to stop that. So that's why they're going to continue to be elite.
It's my number one scariest game on the Patriots' schedule this year because we just don't match up with them well. And I'm not, like I said, we have Gonzalez and we have Carlton Davis. And so I'm not afraid of the receivers. I weren't afraid of the receivers without that anyway. But my perceived weakness of this defense is going to be the interior defensive line, specifically stopping the run.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, and so
this is why this is one of the worst matchups on our calendar.
It is.
We're built for streamlined speed, and for these guys, you need hard-nosed, smash-mouth guys. So
exactly.
I can see us getting run over by them. I don't have any illusions about that.
And this is where your Jelani Tavai of the team. This is where they make their this is where they make their living, right? And
that's the one game that we're really going to need him for.
This is why you have them on the roster, right?
Yeah.
You need the thumpers. You need guys who are big and just that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our linebackers, and Robert Spillane's our new middle linebacker. He's 220 pounds.
Right.
He's not. I'm not saying he's a slight dude. He's a very stocky dude. But that's a little small when you're trying to go up against the Derrick Henry.
Of course. And you got a fullback in your face, and
yeah.
You got a guard pulling, and you're peeling off those guys, and then you got the load of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so that'll be our worst matchup all season.
Yeah, and then you just go to their defense from their draft. I mean, I think they stole Malachi Starks. I think he's the best safety in the draft.
Mike Green
late. I mean, did the guy whatever off-field stuff? Is he going to end up getting suspended?
But talent-wise,
they got a complete steal. He was upwards of the first half of the first round. Sorry, and to me, it's just like the rich get richer. I mean, this is they could be the number 1 seed, and I would be like, yep, that makes sense.
Well-run organization over there.
Yeah, it really truly is.
As much as we begrudge them, and we've had battles with them, you still got to respect game. You know 100%. What I mean? So I like the way they've done their overall roster construction and turning over the front office is like clicking on all cylinders. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Nope.
But any given Sunday.
That's it.
So I'm not completely writing things off, but the Ravens are going to be a tough one. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do leapfrog and get that number 1 seed off the Chiefs. But for right now, for the way too early projections, we're doing it this way. We reserve the right to redo these come training camp and to come close to the regular season.
Yep.
But these are our hot takes right now as far as the offseason is concerned. So moving right along to the number 3 seed, probably doesn't surprise anybody, is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, I have them at 11-6, and that's probably going to make a Bills fan mad. But they've stayed the same. I've talked about who they lost and who they added. But at the end of the day, they don't have too many weapons over there. I mean, I know it's a sound club, but Josh Allen does end up having to take the team over, which he can. I don't have us winning the division or anything. I have us splitting against the Bills, but they just don't strike fear into the heart of people in the postseason. They have never demonstrated any kind of killer instinct at all in crunch time when it comes down to the clutch. So I'm keeping them at 3. But it's with a little bit of trepidation because some other things that are going to happen behind them could shake out. And a few different wins, one way or the other, could change the seeding of this entirely. But for right now, we got to give the Bills for being the Bills, So we're going to have them winning the AFC East. We're going to have them as the number 3 seed, I think is appropriate for right now.
Yeah, and we've talked about their additions. They've had some great additions on the defensive side of the ball, young corner. They didn't really address receiver at all, so they have a lot of faith clearly in Keon Coleman year 2. Khalil Shakir obviously is a big part of the offense, and then you got Kincaid, Cook. We'll see what happens with Cook. But yeah,
Cook reported.
He did report, so that's good. For them, yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, I think, a no-brainer, right? This is where, at this point, you have the top 3 probably locked in whatever order. I mean, I could see it going in any order, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. These 3, they're clearly the 3 cream of the crop in today's AFC. So these are the 3 teams that you want to deal with. We're dealing with 2 of these teams. We get the Ravens once and the Bills twice, so it's going to be a really good litmus test for us, but we'll see how it shakes out between those guys and the rest of their schedule, because their schedules are a little bit harder than ours.
Now, this is where it gets interesting, Mike.
Well, you get into the number 4 seed, and it's almost like by default the Houston Texans have to take it, because somebody needs to win the AFC South.
Yep.
And that's how the seeding goes. No matter how bad you are, if you win your division, you're in the playoffs.
Right.
So I actually got them in for 10-7, which I think that's even a little strong. I know that they have a lot of good young pieces there. They just don't really scare me all that much.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that, kind of concerns me. You lose Laramie Tunsil, which to me, C.J. Stroud's in year 3. Kind of had a little bit of a sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. And, obviously he lost some weapons. He lost Tank Dell, Diggs. And so, but they brought in, obviously, Jaden Higgins, who we wanted. It brought in his teammate, too. They love Iowa State receivers, I guess, Jalen Noel. And, they drafted a tackle, but is he going to start day 1 like Laramie Tunsil? I don't know about that.
They drafted well.
They drafted well for sure. And so I think that they could be better. They could be worse, but I do believe in C.J. Stroud. I believe in the defense. Their run defense is not great. Their interior defensive line is definitely questionable, but their corners and their secondary is very good. And so, to me, I feel like this team slots in at 4 nicely, like you said, with the them being division winners.
And who else is winning the AFC South?
Right.
Who's there to
That's
compete
what it
with
comes down to.
So it's almost by default they get it. But again, I think they're a decent team, so I think they're going to earn it. But yeah, they play in a very, very easy division.
Yeah, and you got Joe Mixon, who was a stud last year, and you got 2 young stud receivers. One of them, I think Jaden Higgins could pan out right away.
Yeah, Jaden Higgins, thanks for ruining it for the rest of the second round pick. You and the linebacker from Cleveland, they decided to give them fully guaranteed deals.
Yep.
Now nobody else is going to sign. We can't sign Travion Henderson now because of it. And guess what? I don't blame the player. He's like, look, these guys,
precedence was set.
Yeah, these guys got that, so why not me? Why not us? So I'm a little mad at the Texans for doing that. There probably wasn't any reason to do it whatsoever. I'd love to know their reason for that. But thanks a lot, guys. Now we have an unsigned running
Set the
back.
impossible bar. But, I mean, honestly, between Stroud and Nico Collins alone, I think Nico Collins could be in the conversation as a top 3 receiver.
He's a beast.
And the guy's just a monster. If he's healthy, that guy he does everything well.
They have excellent chemistry together, those two guys.
Yep.
I think they're going to be a formidable duo for a long, long time. So, yeah, we have the Texans winning the AFC South. And then this is where it gets a little juicy because wild card spots. And the wild card spots are just that. They're anybody's ball game, you know what I mean? So some of this stuff could be interchangeable. But for right now, I have as my 5 seed the Los Angeles Chargers. I got them down at 11-6. Which would, if they were in the Texans division, they would have won the division based on that. But the Chargers are a steadily improving team. Harbaugh, it's Jim. Jim's the one.
One of them.
Yeah, Jim's the one.
Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, he's really resetting the culture there. I think he's a real college rah-rah guy, and I think it's a little corny sometimes.
Of course.
But guess what? His message gets across. They played very hard for him last year, and I expect them to do the same. They got some good stuff. They got a guy, and who's the guy that we always feel bad we never...
McConkey, dude. Yeah, you've repressed it already.
Who's the guy that we could have had instead of Jalen Polk? That guy. So, it hurts us a little bit to see that guy put up numbers because we thought he was going to. But the Chargers are they're a complete team. They have a decent defense. It's not great. I think their offense is sound. It's no super duper stars, but they got a great... Didn't they bone up in the backfield?
Yeah, they got Amarion Hampton. Huge take on
and
him.
Najee Harris, too?
They got Najee Harris.
Yeah.
They signed Najee Harris. And then you drafted Trey Harris, which to me, that was a guy I would hope that would fall to the Patriots.
Yeah.
He's, Mississippi star. I think he's, A.J. Brown-esque. I mean, this guy can get after it deep. I forget his yards per route run and yards per reception, but it was elite. It was up there. So you add him to the offense with Ladd McConkey, who wins at all levels.
They got Mike Williams back. He's going to help.
You got Mike Williams back, which we know he's good for, 1 or 2 spectacular catches a game.
And I think Herbert's going to have a monster season. I really do.
I agree.
I think he's ready to go for a monster season. They beefed up their offensive line. I think they're going to be a tough out.
Yep.
So, I have absolutely no problem keeping them at the number 5 seed right there.
Yeah, and they beefed up their defense a little bit, too. So in the draft in the rounds 3 and 4, they got Jamari Caldwell. They got Kyle Kennard.
Yeah.
They got some guys that I think were steals, especially Kyle Kennard. I know he was drafted. He was mocked up to round 3. So
we like Trey Harris, too.
We love Trey Harris. Yeah, I was just talking about him. I mean, I think he's A.J. Brown-esque. I think he's the guy that can win with a short pass and go take it 60 yards to the house. I mean, this guy's got speed. He's got length. He's got, build, right? I think he's like 6'2", 220 or something, 215.
Yeah.
And so, he's prototypical.
So, we have the Chargers, and it gets a little dicey because for the number 6 seed, we have the Broncos. And I realize this is 3 AFC West teams making the playoffs,
but
right?
The AFC West is a doghouse.
It's the most competitive division in our conference anyway. So these things, they could be interchangeable, the Chargers and the Broncos, as far as the actual seeding. But we were looking at a lot of different mocks, a lot of different simulations, and we saw an alarming number of them not include the Broncos.
Which is insane.
And we think the Broncos are building something over there. Like, I hate to, give them their flowers or anything, but they got a good program.
Yeah. Sean Payton, I'm telling you right now, what he's done over there, they probably have the best offensive line in football. Like, it's probably, top 3, I think.
He's a fantastic coach.
And then you got, they want a bell cow, so they draft R.J. Harvey. I mean, he's a little older, but this kid can run the ball, and he does everything well. He breaks, I think he had the top breakaway runs over 20 yards in all of college football.
He's going to eat in that offense.
He's going to. And then they signed J.K. Dobbins, so now you have, something behind him. 1-2 punch. And, you lost Jerry Jeudy last year, but that proved to not really matter. You signed Evan Ingram. You brought in our boy Pat Bryant, which I don't think anyone knew about. I think you overdrafted him, but I mean,
we liked him.
We liked him. He's kind of a string bean, but I mean, this guy gets after it when the ball's in the air, and he gets after it deep too. He's a great compliment to Cortland Sutton, in my opinion. And then you got Evan Engram running underneath. You got R.J. Harvey, which catches the ball out of the backfield. And Bo Nix, boys and girls, I'm kind of afraid what he could be.
I mean, the Ingram signing, it was like tailor-made for Bo Nix.
Yes,
because
100%.
He is a game manager, and Sean Payton knows exactly what he can get out of this guy and doesn't ask him to do too much, but what he does ask him to do, he's highly efficient at.
He is.
So bringing a guy like that in to help him out, a dynamic tight end like that, I see them going places. Like,
I agree.
I mean, if it wasn't for the Chiefs being so good, I would say they would have a chance at the division. I can't say that right now.
Yeah, and you know, their defense is always going to be sound, right? You got Patrick Surtain, which is, you know, the bread and butter of that defense. And so, to me, they're a sound defense with a very up-and-coming offense. You have Surtain, you drafted Jahdae Barron.
Good pick.
Yeah, great pick. And then in the third and the fourth, you get two edge rushers and Savion Jones and K. Robinson. So, I mean, they're clearly saying, okay, our offense, we feel good now. We got a running back that we can just feed the ball to 20 times a game. And then we have receivers already. We brought in Evan Engram, and we're investing in our edge, which was one of their problems, right? They lost, what was it, Bradley Chubb. They've lost some players over the years that didn't really pan out. So now they're doubling down on edge. And you got the corners, right? You got the corners, you got some edges.
Well, don't they have the best corner in the league, basically?
Yeah,
right
Pat
now?
Surtain. I mean, you got Surtain, you got Jahdae Barron. So that they're pushing their chips in on their defense, and their offense is battle tested. So yeah, I think they're right up there, man. They could be the fifth seed.
They could easily. I see them making a lot of noise, and this brings us to. You had to wait for it. You had to wait a long time.
22 minutes in, boys and girls. We had to do it, and you made it.
We didn't want to bury the lead right off the bat, but our number 7 seed, we have our own New England Patriots sneaking in to the 7th wildcard seed with a 10-7 record. I projected them to have 10 wins. I'm sticking by that for the moment.
I'm saying 11.
Yeah, he's saying 11. He's a little more optimistic than me.
I'm a nut, sorry.
I tried to come up with one that had the Pats winning 9 games, and Joe almost had a coronary.
Wouldn't do it.
So
Would not allow it.
So I had to compromise and come a little halfway on him. But I do think that they can win a league.
I see you, Pete Collins. I see you. We got a bet. By the way, me and Pete Collins, Foxborough fellas, we have a bet.
Oh, he thinks it's low,
over.
right?
Yeah, he said under 9 wins. I said over 9 wins.
Oh, wow.
And so Vegas, I think, has us at 7.5 wins, which I think is robbery.
No kidding.
I got to put a bet in there, too. But,
he
yeah.
is pumping his brakes hard.
Oh, big time. He's definitely a little down. Not down, but I think he's trying to be like, okay, we were a 4-win team last year. How are we going to get to 10,
I'll believe it
wins?
when I see it type of deal.
Yeah. So,
whereas we're the type of guys that we see what's on paper and we see the news and we see how the culture's developing. We read into that in a positive light.
Absolutely.
The unknown is the unknown. You could say that about anything, but we like to read the tea leaves about what's going on right now, and we think good things are going on right now.
And it's hard to come up with losses in this schedule. I hate to say it. I hate to keep saying the same thing.
We have a cakewalk schedule. It's cake. It's absolute cakewalk.
These quarterbacks are a joke. I mean, it's not, granted, we need to see what our offensive line is, our defensive line is, these receivers, a bunch of new bodies at receiver.
Third easiest strength of schedule right now.
Yeah, so I just, we have Carlton Davis, 1. We have Gonzo, 2. We have Milton Williams, okay?
Well, people are going to have to hold it because the man-to-man cover is going to be sticky, and that's when our guys are going to go home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So this is where, in my opinion, teams aren't scoring regularly 30 points against us. That's not going to be a thing this year.
Better not be.
So I've said enough.
Yeah, so we have the Pats in as a 7. I think they could, depending on how things fall, even sneak up to a 6 or a 5.
I agree.
We have an easy schedule. There's some other teams that other people would say are more worthy. Like, for example, we got the Bengals, the Steelers, the Fins. Anybody could say that those could be playoff teams.
Yep.
But, you never know until the season starts and the chips fall where they may. So I have the benefit of the doubt on the Patriots. The Bengals I'm not too high on. I don't think they did that much. The Steelers I'm not afraid of at all. And I think the Dolphins are just kind of imploding. So it was just tough for me to try to put those guys into this
in the same echelon, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about the Broncos, the Chargers, and what I see the potential of the Patriots are, I mean, it far
It's greater.
exceeds.
It's greater.
Now, the Bengals, right, we'll talk about them next. Obviously, the Bengals' offense is spectacular and can score 50 points any given week, right? But I think they're going to have to do that a lot of weeks because their defense is so horrible. I mean, they just lost their linebacker.
Yeah.
They just lost their main tackling linebacker, and you don't have Trey
Oh,
Hendrickson.
Jermaine Pratt, was that who that
Yeah,
was?
Jermaine Pratt, yeah. So-
And they let him go. They played hardball with him, wouldn't sign him.
Because they just signed for $250 million into receivers and quarterbacks.
They squatted on his rights and waited till free agency was over and then released him, and now all the spots are taken up, so the guy can't get a contract.
It's absolutely insane.
The way the Bengals do business is bass-ackwards. Let's
Yes,
just put it that
I
way.
agree.
These guys, they've been notoriously the cheapest team in the league for many, many years. They don't trade guys. They don't re-sign guys, unless it's to their personal benefit. I mean, their vice president came out and said, well, Trey Hendrickson he needs to learn how to be comfortable with a certain number. And if you tell that to me and I'm like working a job and no, this is what I'm worth, this is the job, you're going to try to mind trick me into it being half the money.
This is a you problem.
Yeah, so that's the microcosm of the Bengals, which is why they went so front-loaded with, I know we were going to go back to the Patriots, but as far as the Bengals, they're so front-loaded with those 3 contracts, the 2 receivers and the quarterback, they completely hamstrung themselves on the rest of the roster. They can't.
I agree.
They can't afford a Hendrickson, so they have to lean on drafting right, and they don't always draft all that right either. So I don't see them. I mean, they had that one good year and one great year and a couple of good years, but they're the Bengals, and I feel like they're going to come back down to earth.
And if I have to be honest, I believe more in the Steelers than I do the Bengals. Because at least you got Mike Tomlin. At least you got, they drafted well.
Ownership, leadership, the staff, the coaching, it's always been a bar really high, which makes it really confusing why they were willing to do this with Rodgers and be so patient.
Right.
They got desperate.
For sure.
Plain and simple.
They clearly didn't like what they saw in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and they said, okay, we need a bridge, which Aaron Rodgers is the bridge. Let's be honest. He might play a year. He might play 2 years.
He's the reason I have them not making the playoffs.
Right.
Because he's a malcontent diva and probably won't put his all into it. And I feel like he'll make a bunch of mistakes because he's never really truly focused. So I don't believe in him.
Yep, I agree.
In any way whatsoever. And then for the 10th one, we have the Dolphins. They could make the playoffs, but like we've said before, it's a rudderless ship. There's no real direction there. So I don't have any confidence in them getting anything done. They have an embattled GM and coach who people are asking them every day if they're blowing it up, and they're getting sick and tired of talking about that.
Mike McDaniel seems unhinged already before the season has even started.
He is. I mean, he's an enigma anyway. That guy, he's a real wild card. And
he could be a great coordinator.
I think
he's a great coordinator.
I think he's a great offensive mind. I think he's an innovator. I love his schemes. But yeah, as far as being a head coach, he's a little too squirrely.
Quirky, squirrely. Yeah, there's something off about him where it's like, should this guy be in the cameras this much?
Yeah, you get a Sean Payton or a Mike Vrabel, it's like, all right, that's the man, that's the alpha. He's taking control of the room. This guy doesn't really seem to be that kind of coach.
Yeah. Well, and if you're winning, right? If you're a playoff team and you're winning in the playoffs, then these questions don't come out. But they haven't done it. They haven't been able to do it. Tyreek Hill, we've named this stuff before. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith comes in, has a career year. You won't pay him. You can't figure that out. I mean, these guys are just asking to blow it up.
Dead in the water, but I'm happy because they're in our division, so I will take it.
And Dolphins fans are absolutely insufferable. I'll say this over and over again. Every Dolphins fan that I don't know a Dolphins fan that isn't like obsessed with the Patriots, one, and like obsessed with their downfall versus their like upswing. And it's very weird.
Yeah, they've been waiting for a long time. Now that it happened, they're like just pouncing all over. It's like, that's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
we had your number for 20 years, so you don't have to go back to that. Guess what, Dolphins fans and Jets fans, and that's the only thing I'll say about the Jets, watch out, okay? Because we're leapfrogging you. We're going to be second in the AFC East. Calling it right now. End of story.
100%.
Because we like the Patriots roster, and again, like Joe said, we had trouble making them have so many losses because
It's true.
some of these games look actually winnable. So we're incredibly high on them, and I'm hoping that by the time the season shakes out, that I'm wrong, that I'm completely wrong, and that they deserve much more than a 7th seed, and I will eat crow. I can't wait.
I would love it. Love nothing more.
It would be the best thing for me to do is just eat that crow and get it done. But no, we have them in the playoffs one way or the other. So as far as those are the top 10 teams in the AFC, and we're just not going to talk about the rest of them unless you have anything to add.
There's nothing really. I think that's how it's going to shake out. Jaguars, are they better? Are they worse?
You never know. It's first time everything over there. Brand new system.
They're always ripping up and changing everything. So
they got a GM that looks like he went to junior high with my son, for crying out loud.
Right,
It's like
right.
This young kid, and their coach Liam Cohen, who's actually from Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
He went to Hendricken, so that's pretty cool that he's their head coach. But he's also young and raw, so you have no idea how that's going to shake out. Jacksonville does have some talent. I think that they're going to misuse Travis Hunter. And like I've told you since the dawn of any of this draft, that he's going to be a malcontent with whatever role he ends up playing.
Right.
He's either going to think I'm playing too much on one side or not on the other, or vice versa.
until he gets hurt.
So, and they gave up the farm for him too, so they can go ahead and have him.
They put a lot of eggs in that basket.
Big
He
time.
could be a generational receiver. He could be a generational cornerback, but he will not be a generational both.
Yeah.
And I just, like you said, I don't see him being content. He's got an axe to grind, and that axe is they call it the not for long league, right? It's
Yeah.
the NFL, and by playing two positions, you're not Bo Jackson, dude. You're not built like that.
Yeah, the vets are already completely fed up with him too, because he's like always dancing, and laughing and carrying on. And
you can do that, but you better back it up, man.
It's mini camp, like just learn the stuff first and just go through it first before you do all that, because you're gonna piss the veterans off. Same thing happened in Cleveland. Shadur Sanders is always trying to dance and trying to get Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
You think Flacco's having any of that? So there was a clip of him dancing and be like, "Come on, dude, get it."
Yeah.
And Joe looks at him, he's like, "Does it seem like I'm interested in that right now?"
Right. Have I ever danced like
That's literally
I've never danced like
that's
that.
literally what he said. I was like, good for you, Joe, for sticking to your crotchety old man guns,
Yeah, and it's just like, I look at, we had OTAs recently, and you look at like Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams seems like the consummate pro. He looks like he shows up to work, having a lot of conversations with Josh McDaniels. I mean, I didn't see one video of him dancing on the sideline.
No,
I mean,
not
these
at
guys
all.
are here for work. They're here for business. And that's to me, especially if I'm sending all that money to him, I'm probably sitting him down if I'm the owner and saying, "Hey, we want you to have fun. We want you to be, but listen, make no mistake, we put a lot of investment into you.
Absolutely.
We need you to take this seriously. We need you to be kind of the face of the franchise, right? Trevor Lawrence was that, but by putting this much stock into that pick, you are saying you are in our plans for the very, current and near future."
So yeah, it's a good thing that most mini camps are wrapping up right now, so we don't have aged takes when this comes out.
Right.
Because this is going to be an episode where we put it out a little bit afterwards.
Yes, yeah. So just so everyone knows, Mike and I, the week of 6/22, I'll be in Costa Rica. You'll be in Punta Cana.
Yeah.
And so this actually somehow oddly worked out where we're both on vacation
Same week.
and out of the country the same week. So, but yeah, so we were pre-recording this, but yes.
Full disclosure for our fans.
Full disclosure, yeah.
But these takes won't change from now until
No,
then.
unless Bo Nix, blows out a knee or something happens, right? That's clearly going to change things, but hopefully that doesn't happen because OTAs are over and people are just doing their workouts.
Yeah, I think we'll be good to go.
All right. Well, one last thing. So we talked about Rogue Island, our one of our sponsors. We want to talk about Impact Brand and Marketing in Cumberland, Rhode Island. John DiDonato. This guy's amazing. Me and Mike got a chance to go into the showroom. He actually gave us a tour of the whole factory. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. The power of these machines nowadays, all computerized. But he does hats, mugs, shirts, sweatshirts. he used a fire department, all kind of garb, and
Yeah, he works with all different departments.
yeah, he's got this thing. It's like a locker truck, all for like I believe it's like police and all kind of officials.
Yeah.
That he strolls around and rolls up. It's like a big, I don't know, it's an 18-wheeler or what.
And then there's us.
And then there's us, yeah. And so
We're getting swag in soon.
Swag's coming in soon, boys and girls. We'll be able to order it. We're going to give some away. They're going to have some live streams where we give some away. We're going to have an event at Rogue Island at the night of the Bills game. I believe it's October 5th on Sunday Night Football. And so we're going to have a live stream from there. We'll be giving away some merch there. And, yeah, Impact Brandon Marketing, Cumberland, Rhode Island. Give them a visit. They're a great business. And so thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a great episode. It's our 11th episode, and we'll be talking about what the next few weeks have to hold for us. But training camp, we're talking about that schedule's out July 24th, 25th. Looks like there's going to be a lot of us out there. So if you're in the area and you want to have a good time at training camp, meet some of us. We're probably going to be around. So.
Podcast meetup, huh? Aren't the other podcasters going to be there?
Yes, other podcasters, Savage Sports. There's going to be some guys maybe driving in. Foxborough fellas, Divish is flying in. And so, it's going to be wild. It's going to be cool if you get a chance to meet us. And
we'll be interviewing people if you happen to be walking by.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're going to be watching all these cool rookies, all these new players. It's going to be fun with some pads. Oh, man, it's going to be great.
Can't come quick enough.
I know. So, all right, boys and girls, follow us as always. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We are at LFG Pats Pod on Twitter. And at LFG Pats Podcast on Instagram. And then, as always, Joe, LFG Pats Pod, Mike, LFG Pats Pod.
Indeed, sir.
I hit them all. So Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all the things.
All that good stuff.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, guys. Let's go.
LFG.